Lyra looked up at the ceiling. There was a big window open on the wall directly in front of her. When she bounded up for it, she looked like a crimson falling star flying in reverse. However, as she easily reached the window more than 15 feet off the ground, her body instantly warped like a TV signal rocked by interference. Lyra was thrown backward. Executing a flip in midair, she managed to gracefully land feet first.
Lyra?
The warrior woman stood up straight and then twisted again. Her eyes stretched wide, her mouth shrank down to a dot, and the fingers of her elongated hands grew about as long as she was tall.
Don't come near me. They've got a spatial distorter. Everyone, gather in the middle. And don't touch anything.
But what about him?
Forget about the infirm. You have to look out for yourself. Hurry up.
Let's go, Cheryl.
When the girls stood up, the scene around them began to change. The ceiling and 3 of the walls were warping. Noticing the strange transformation, the horses tethered in the back began whinnying. Then they stopped unexpectedly.
What's going on?
Even the horses had been distorted, and the boards that partitioned each animal into a separate stall rolled and bulged like the picture on a poorly tuned TV. The horses were no longer horses at all. With twisted muzzles, legs dripping like molasses, and the barrels stretched like serpents, the creatures that stood there were truly bizarre.
The horses and the walls, they're all running together.
Can't you do anything, Deputy?
There's something I could try. I could hit this field head on. That might do something.
If you did that, you'd be obliterated.
That just goes with the territory.
The distortion suddenly disappeared. Apparently, the spatial distorter hadn't had a permanent effect yet.
Cheryl, I think you're gonna be fine. If I don't make it, get him to do whatever needs to be done. And don't, under any circumstances, allow him to just leave. Well, here goes nothing.
Twisting her upper body around, Lyra poised herself for a running start. The wind struck her face. The ever-changing stable quaked.
What's going on here?
And behold, the ceiling and walls puckered at their centers, rising in a funnel shape before squeezing down into a single stream that was sucked into a spot just a bit off the ground. The palm of Dee's left hand, which had been raised off the ground. Who would have believed that the tiny mouth that opened on its surface could suck up that distortion field? The sky howled, the ground quaked. So great was the force of the wind, it left all of them clutching the very hair on their heads. They weren't overreacting. The wind threatened to yank it from their scalps. The howl of the ferocious gale died, and a second later, light filled their world. The 3 of them stood out in the stark light of the summer sun. The roof, the walls, and even the horses in the stable had been destroyed. Now they were confronted by 4 people standing on a familiar street. 3 were huge fellows in their 40s, while the last was still young. He couldn't have been more than 17 or 18. A device about the size of a hardcover book hung from a strap around his neck. With a troubled look on his face, the young man backed away.
What the hell are you doing?
I don't believe it. The distortion field just disappeared.
I'll get you.
One of the men drew the longsword from his hip and took a swipe at Lyra with it. It had the razor-sharp tip one would expect from someone who spilled blood for a living. But Lyra parried it with her own blade fresh from its sheath. There was a mellifluous sound, and the sword flew out of the man's hand. As if it had been planned that way, the errant blade plunged straight into the head of the second man.